Hi guys, it's Ebird Online, and I'm here with another review of Before the 90 Days. It's Season 3, Episode 7, Under Pressure. As you know, I split my reviews into handy bite-sized pieces, and the first bite-sized piece is going to be Caesar and Maria, and Benjamin and Akinyi. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to my channel, not just for the regular updates, but also for my specials, and I'll have another Before the 90 Days special for you this week. Also, don't forget to like the video. And so first up, Caesar and Maria. And we catch up with Caesar sitting as lonely as a cloud on the edge of his bed. Caesar's sitting on his bed, sons Maria, and he opines, "Today was supposed to be the best day of my life." And then he decides to ring the airline to find out more details about this flight cancellation. So Maria's claiming that the flight was cancelled and that's why she didn't arrive in Mexico. She hasn't explained, however, why she ignored his calls for 4 days. She hasn't explained why she ignores his texts for 4 days. And she hasn't explained why when she got to the airport and the flight was cancelled, she failed to call him immediately. So I don't know what anyone else thinks about this. But Caesar called the airline and they claimed that the flight was cancelled because there were insufficient funds in his account. Producers, everybody knows that there's no way to book a flight in its entirety without the money going off your credit or debit card right then and there. There is no way that you could possibly book a flight, get send confirmation over to Maria, and then later on at some unspecified date, the flight's cancelled without the airline even ringing you. No flights get booked until funds are received by the airline, so I honestly fail to see how it could have been cancelled afterwards. And I also don't know why, if it did cancel, if that were possible, why the airline didn't just say, "There's been a problem with your debit card, sir, can you pay with an alternative card?" If that's the case, then this is possibly the most incompetent airline I've ever heard of. Actually, it's Delta. Yeah, that's the only way. I guess if he booked by Delta, if they fly in between the Ukraine and Mexico, then this whole debacle could indeed be possible, but that's the only way. If it's not Delta, it's not possible. Sorry Delta, but anything's possible with you guys. But the main thing for me is she didn't discuss it with him at all. She didn't tell him the reason, and so it's obvious that she did not want to go. But Caesar's far too obtuse to realise this. He tells us he's gonna fix it, and he phones Maria. Finally, she picks up the phone, but she tells him, "I won't go to plane anymore." She's not going to the plane apparently. She says she's tired of going. Maria, you've been once. How can you be tired of going to the airport when you've only been once? Or maybe she's just tired in general. I suppose back and forth to the ATM every day must be thirsty work. And then Maria decides to let Caesar know that he's a loser because it's not her fault that he has to continually work so many hours to provide her with the money that she needs for her hair and her clothes and her cosmetology. And it's getting on her nerves, him keep telling her about it. Caesar, if this isn't a wake-up call, I don't know what is. Not only is she a dirty little thief, she's an ungrateful one. And then she tells him, "Go and live your life." She must have been reading my YouTube messages because that's what everyone's been saying. But after she said go and live your life, Caesar quickly got in and "I'm done" and put the phone down. Well done Caesar, break up with them before they can break up with you. That's just what the E-Bird would do. The producer asks him, "Did she break up with you? Are you okay?" Producer, are you hard of hearing? So of course it's not okay. You've set up the edible panties and the engagement ring in an open box for him to sit and stare at whilst he gets broken up with by his fake Ukrainian girlfriend. No, he's not okay, and that's mainly down to you. I have to say though, if this storyline is fake, Caesar gave a decent enough performance when he was crying. Maybe he'd been rubbing Vicks decongestant underneath his eyes. Who knows, but he did manage to push out a few genuine looking tears. We see him out on the balcony and he says, "Everybody's gonna laugh. This was all just a game to Maria." And it's very strange because he's exceedingly quick to accept the relationship's finished and that it was all just a game. He's been clinging on for dear life for 5 years allegedly. And now, within one conversation, he realises this is done. Caesar, if it's not true, you've redeemed yourself on your acting skills of last week with the crying scene you did this week. If it is true, pick yourself up, dust yourself off. Look at it this way. You've just saved yourself $800 a month. It's a bloody result. And now you'll also have a dessert of edible panties to eat with your ramen noodles. This is what I call a win-win. And that's everything this week for Caesar and Maria. Next week, we see he calls off production. He's walking along saying to the cameras, "Turn them off, turn them off. I'm no longer interested." Caesar, we know how you feel. And next up, we have Benjamin and Akinyi. So before Benjamin went to Nairobi, we asked, does Benjamin have what it takes to impress the family? Now we have our answer. Benjamin doesn't even have what it takes to meet the family. We catch up with Benjamin and Akinyi outside, and she's refusing to let him walk her back home. So as you guys remember, last week, Benjamin was supposed to meet the whole family for a family meal, and it didn't go too well, to say the least. Everybody stood over him as he was eating. The mother was, I'd say, less than friendly. She was kind of okay, but not great. And the dad said he was going to be late, then later still, and then he finally let us know he wasn't going to bother showing at all. And to top it all off, Fidel, Akinyi's brother, made a comment which made Akinyi really mad and then tearful, but Akinyi wouldn't tell Benjamin or us, the viewer, what that comment was, and I can't wait to find out what was actually said. We catch up with them outside, and she's refusing to let him walk her home. Benjamin explains they need their father's blessing before any proposal can take place. Benjamin says to her, well, what's wrong? I just don't understand what was said. And she said, oh, my brother said something awful. And then she tells Benjamin, as you do, to go away. I'm just hoping that her English isn't great and she doesn't know how rude telling someone to go away is. So Benjamin goes to speak to Fidel. Fidel's standing outside of his apartment, and there's a couple of other people hanging around, but it's not clear who these people are. And Fidel is asking Benjamin, why is my sister upset? Fidel, you tell me. I spoke only in English, so everything I said or did you know about. What about you? No, Swahili. And as you know, Fidel, I don't speak Swahili, so it's me that should be asking you what happened or asking you what was said. Fidel takes it upon himself to blame Benjamin. He says, this is the second time you've upset her. Pardon? He says the first time is when you never bought a present. Are we still going on about that present? You cannot bring this damn present up every time you want to dig him out. Benjamin, just tell them, my presents is your present. I think Benjamin is far too nice, far too reasonable and far too honourable for this family. He doesn't want to sell Akinyi out on the fact that she's actually upset with Fidel, so he keeps stum and basically takes the blame himself. At this point, Ebird's blood was boiling, and we catch up with him a little bit later and is sitting on his bed learning how to sing. It must be his very first time of trying, and it's good that he was brave enough to let us in on such an early practice. He knows neither the words nor the tune, but he's having a good crack at it. He tells us he's still very upset and he still doesn't know what Akinyi's brother said. Akinyi won't say. He texts her and she tells him to meet her down the street. She won't come to the apartment as she doesn't want to see her brother Fidel. And so when she finally meets with Benjamin, she tells us that Fidel thinks she's embarrassed the family by bringing Benjamin home, and then the father didn't show up. Really, Akinyi, you should have considered all of this before. You should have found out, if it was really important to you, how much Benjamin earned. You should have given him an indication of how much the bride price would be, and you shouldn't have blown him up, saying, where's my present? In front of the whole of the family. Had you not done that little scene, most people probably wouldn't have even clocked that presents were being swapped. You should have told Benjamin that he had to go and live with the brother, and you should have told them that he was white. I find that the majority of these problems are of Akinyi's making. But then finally, we get to find out what the comment was that Fidel made that made Akinyi cry the night before. And she finally tells us that Fidel said that by not coming to the meal, the father really went out of his way to make a point. Is that all? Oh my god, what a drama queen. I think even Benjamin's nonplussed by it, and he was asking her, why didn't you just tell me? And she said if something happens, she just ignores it. If something's said, she doesn't want to speak on it. And then again she turns on the waterworks. Benjamin tells her communication is really important when you're in a relationship and when you're bringing up kids. And he tells us that problems with communication are a big red flag to him. More of a red flag than gold digging, more of a red flag than trying to upend you and make you feel uncomfortable at every turn, more of a red flag than thinking only of yourself and not of your partner. Maybe so, but right now, in my opinion, Akinyi is just one big red flag. She makes Ben promise not to tell her brother what she's said, and she tells him, I'll be really mad if you do. Akinyi, stop threatening him. If you didn't want him to tell your brother what had been said, you should never have told him in the first place. Something was said in Swahili that I can't tell you, and it's really upset me. You should have just kept it all to yourself. She didn't. She chose to make it Benjamin's problem. Once again, I implore you, Benjamin, to run, turn on your heels and go home. And so lots of my subscribers have been asking, Ebird, why are you picking on Akinyi and her family? She's just trying to make a better life for herself. She's just trying to get out of poverty, and I have absolutely no problem with that. If you look at the relationship between Angela and Michael, they both know what they're getting. He knows he's getting a green card. She knows she's getting, well, I want to say a hot young thing, but you know. The problem that I have with Akinyi and Benjamin is the fact that Benjamin's actually in love with Akinyi. He thinks it's a proper real relationship. He's going to introduce her as a stepmom to his child. And it seems to me as if Akinyi is literally just looking at it as a business transaction. If they were both being a little bit more upfront, I wouldn't mind so much. The same with Rebecca and Zied. Let's be real, Rebecca knows very well that in no normal circumstance would you meet someone for a couple of weeks and then get engaged. She knows that Zied is desperate to come to America, and so they both know what they're getting from this so-called relationship. Benjamin isn't in receipt of any such knowledge, and that is the problem that I have with this relationship. I feel that Akinyi and her family are trying to manipulate Ben at every turn. Let's take for instance the fact that the father didn't turn up. He wasn't just late, he wasn't just held up. He said, I don't want to come. Well, he would have known that right from the word go. So why, when the mum initially rang him, didn't he just say, I'm not coming at all? Why did he say, I'll be late? So that they could build the drama up in Ben's head. They wanted him to think that he was coming, and then at the last minute, him not coming was very dramatic and very scary for Ben. They more or less want Ben to absolutely beg for Akinyi's hand in marriage, and I don't see why he should. Ben's a bit wet behind the ears, but he's got a good heart, you can tell. He's a great father, and generally I think he's a nice person. And that's why I have a problem with Benjamin and Akinyi, and also I think to some extent Jennifer and Tim. So next week looks super interesting for these two couples, because we see Akinyi's father, who's a minister, preaching in church. And when I say church, I mean somebody's front room. And something tells me it's going to scare the bejesus out of our very own Benjamin. Right, that's it for the first review. What do you guys think? Is Akinyi out of order? Should Akinyi have said anything to Benjamin about what the brother said full stop? Is she being a drama queen? And do you think it's really suspicious that Caesar has just accepted this breakup of a 5-year relationship so quickly and so easily? The Ebird thinks it's sus, but I've got more reviews to do. Thank you to everyone that's subscribed already, and if you've yet to do so, press the red button, it takes but a second. And don't forget to like the video. You've been listening to Ebird Online. I'll see you soon. Ciao for now.